I started this company. You know how much I sacrificed?
Origins tell us a bit more about the backstory of a civilization in Stellaris before it unified into a spacefaring force. In this video, we're going to go through every single origin available to you as a player. We're going to talk about what works, what doesn't work, and then rank them in a tier list so you can understand which ones are quite powerful and which ones are actually a bit challenging if you want to have more of a challenge in Stellaris. This is going to be a rather long tier list. There's 46 individual entries to rank here, so make sure you're sat down, you've got a snack and a drink, and you're ready to dive in. Before we dive in, I need to say a massive thank you to Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus for sponsoring this video. Merry Grotmas, everyone! Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus is a thrilling turn-based strategy game set in the epic Warhammer 40,000 universe. In Tacticus, you'll choose between 70 legendary champions from 17 different factions to create your team and lead them into lightning-fast skirmishes. Victory is all about superior tactics, and trust me, every decision counts. You can play PvE campaigns, PvP battles, live events, and even guild raids. There's always something exciting happening. This December, the iconic Red Gobbo joins the battlefield just in time for Grotmas. Until the end of the year, you can use code HAPPYDECK to get 2,000 gold and 50 Blackstone. Join a passionate community of gamers and Warhammer fans. With regular updates and an average 4.5 star rating, Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus might be your next go-to game for top tier tactical gameplay. Use the link in the description to download Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus now and dive into the grim darkness of the 41st millennium. As always, we're starting right at the very bottom in the F tier. The origins down in this tier actually have drawbacks. Yes, there may be some bonuses, but you're going to be harmed by taking these origins. Life Seeded starts you on a size 30 Gaia World. Gaia Worlds give you a 10% bonus to happiness and resource from job output, as well as giving you more planetary capacity for each unused district. So if you're a biological species, you will grow faster from getting maximum logistic pop growth. On top of that, they've also changed the way the Bubbling Swamp, Crystalline Caverns, and Dust Caverns work. Now, instead of having to build a specific building to access those rare crystals, volatile motes, or exotic gases, you'll now get income from your miners on this planet when you research the technology associated with that resource type. The main drawbacks to this origin is the fact you'll have the Gaia World preference, so your species will have 0% habitability on every other planet, making them absolutely terrible for colonization. Not only that, if you're playing with guaranteed habitable worlds, you'll lose your first 2 guaranteed systems, and overall this can very much limit your growth. The best way to play this origin is to focus on building alloys, go to war quickly with another species, and take them. That way you'll have quite a lot of extra production and another species you can use to colonize the galaxy that doesn't suffer from the Gaia World preference. Of course, machines are different to this, and we'll talk about Gaia Worlds for machines a little bit later. Doomsday is labelled as a challenging origin for a reason. Within the first 35 to 45 years, your homeworld will explode. That is, of course, a ticking time bomb, which is, that's not good, ladies and gentlemen. But on the plus side, you're going to get bonuses to your resource output for minerals and alloys as your homeworld gets closer and closer to destruction. That will be offset by reductions to habitability on the planet alongside getting extra devastation. Just like with Life Seeded, machines have an entirely different interaction with this origin, which we'll cover later. But overall, losing your homeworld and having no guaranteed habitable worlds to find at the start of the game will definitely hurt your early game quite a lot. If you take the subterranean origin, thematically speaking, your civilization lives underground. This uncaps your mining district limit on every single planet, so you can build as many mining districts as there are district slots available on every world. You'll also get, for every 3 mining districts, 1 additional building slot. Orbital bombardment damage will be reduced by 75%, so it is very easy by taking something like unyielding or adaptability to get that up to the maximum of -98% and basically be able to ignore bombardment from space for the entire game. There are some negatives though with this Origin, of course, that's why it's down in the F tier. You're going to get increased building and district cost as well as upkeep and a reduction in planetary build speed. On top of that, your species will be forced to take the Cave Dweller trait. This trait is going to reduce your pop growth by 20% and increase your empire size from pops by 10%. You will get 15% additional minerals from jobs, as well as a species minimum habitability of 50%, so in some ways, this is like playing as a machine empire, except without all of the rest of the benefits of machines, just that increase to species minimum habitability. Yes, you can offset some of these negatives by playing as a lithoid. You will no longer be getting the -20% biological pop growth speed. Instead, you'll be getting -25% pop growth speed and pop assembly speed because you are a lithoid. Being a lithoid usually sucks. They are generally worse than regular species. I do also want to make a note that if you play as a machine race with the Subterranean Origin, you'll get the Molebots trait, which will give you a minimum habitability on every single planet of 100%. 50% for being a machine, plus another 50% for being a Molebot. That is good, but overall I still think those reductions to pop assembly speed are not something you want to have basically ever. Broken Shackle's empires start with a variety of different pops, meaning you should be able to colonize basically any planet type right at the start of the game. On top of that, you'll also get the effects of Parliamentary System, meaning your factions will spawn and you'll get plus 50% faction unity gain for the first 10 years right at the start of the game without even having to take Parliamentary System. That is a great bonus. On the negative side of things, you will start with fewer technologies. You won't actually get some of the starting technologies. Instead, you'll have them as research options. So you're going to be behind other empires in the game. On top of that, in terms of negatives, you'll also spawn in Minimar Specialized Industries, an advanced empire that hates your guts and will try to actively destroy you or take you on as a vassal. This can make the Origin rather challenging. Payback is another challenging Origin that spawns in the Minimar Specialized Industries, just like Broken Shackles. However, this one is even more challenging. You'll start with 10 fewer pops, 33% devastation on your homeworld, and on top of that, you're still missing a host of technologies right at the start of the game. However, on the fun side of things, this Origin is basically Independence Day, but in Stellaris. Fear of the Dark gives you some great mid-game bonuses. However, you'll start with 8 fewer pops, you'll lose 1 research alternative, which means that without any other bonuses to research alternatives, you'll just be able to choose between 2 technologies per category at the start of the game. That is crippling if you're trying to get to something like, I don't know, Arc Furnace or any of the great tier 2 technologies. Because with fewer technology draws, you have less options and less opportunities. Yes, in the mid-game you'll get access to either becoming a Fanatic Purifier or getting +1 civic slots, but that is a lot later in the middle of the game. Rift World is a very hit or miss Origin. You'll get an increase to Astral Rift exploration speed, as well as a reduction to your Astral Rift fail chance. And on top of that, you'll get a plus 100% chance for Astral Rifts to appear in all of your own systems. You will start with the Astral Harvesting technology researched, but you are going to have to research the technology in order to actually explore these Astral Rifts. If you're lucky and you get good rifts, this can be very, very strong. However, it is entirely RNG based. You simply don't know whether you're going to get good rifts and good relics and good bonuses or not. Storm Chasers makes cosmic storms appear more and gives you a small bonus to Unity when cosmic storms are affecting your planets per storm building on a planet.
Oh no! Anyway.
You'll also get a mid-game event chain that will end up spawning a Nexus Storm. That's really bad actually, by the way. And yeah, overall it just sucks though. Yes, you get a storm. Yes, allegedly storms do things other than just giving you devastation. And granted, if you get a Radiant Storm and an Arc Furnace system, that's amazing. But overall, I'm not sure I'd recommend either playing this Origin or even turning on the Cosmic Storms DLC. Beastmasters probably doesn't deserve to be down here in the F tier, it probably deserves to be up in the C tier if I'm being perfectly honest. However, overall I just feel this Origin is somewhat lackluster. You'll get access to permanent research options at the start of the game for the technologies you'll need in order to go out and capture space fauna, but you can't actually capture space fauna at the start of the game. If you had the ability to capture space fauna and make use of the bonuses this Origin gives from day one, I think it would definitely deserve to go up to the C tier at the very least. I should also mention you do get the choice of an Empire-wide bonus, depending on your ethics or whether or not you're a Gestalt consciousness, right at the start of the game, and that can be pretty good. However, it is entirely related to space fauna. If you're not going to play with space fauna, or you're going to take a long time to get access to space fauna, it is going to be pretty useless. Fruitful Partnership is only available to plantoid or fungoid species that are pacifist, xenophilic, or hive minds. Basically, you're going to get the chance to attach your seeds to Tiyanki matriarchs, Tiyanki whales that will fly around the galaxy, and then spread your seeds onto planets. From that, you'll then be able to spring out of holes in the ground and colonize planets elsewhere in the galaxy. The main issue with this is the rate at which the Tiyanki go out and spread these seeds. It does take a long time, often too long. The galaxy can generally fill up and all of those planets can get colonized before your Tiyanki have had a chance to go out and spread your seeds far and wide. At which point that kind of makes the Origin semi-useless. I think this Origin could definitely be in the C tier if you were able to attach these seedlings to Tiyanki that you had via the Vivarium, Tiyanki that were actually under your control. On top of that, if you started with some Vivarium technologies and the ability to grow more Tiyanki to send out seedlings, this would be definitely even better, possibly even B tier. Let's jump up a tier and start looking at some better Origins in the C tier. Lost Colony is, in my opinion, quite a fun thematic origin. You'll start the game as a lost colony of an advanced empire somewhere else out there in the galaxy. This does mean there will usually be a more powerful version of your own species out there running amok. You will lose the normal plus 30% habitability that all homeworlds get, so your homeworld may not actually be 100% habitable to you because it's not actually your homeworld. The big benefit here is that you do get a positive homeworld modifier on your homeworld, which should increase your habitability a bit alongside giving you some other bonuses. Syncretic Evolution is the poor man's necrophage. You will start with a secondary species with the Serviles trait, and 12 of your starting 28 pops will actually be this secondary subspecies. This species is unable to work ruler or specialist jobs and cannot generate leaders. They will get some bonuses for being serviles. Overall, this is a bonus, but it will require additional micromanagement to get the most out of your secondary species, because if you are using them, you'll never be able to upgrade them into, as I mentioned, specialist roles, so they will always be stuck to the worker role. This drastically reduces your flexibility as you're expanding in the game. Post-Apocalyptic starts you on a tomb world as your homeworld. You'll also get the Survivor trait or radiation shielding if you are mechanical. That trait is going to give you plus 10 years of leader lifespan alongside plus 70% tomb world habitability. Sadly, this doesn't actually replace your guaranteed habitable worlds with tomb worlds, and you won't actually have any way directly through this origin of getting access to more tomb worlds, so it could actually be entirely useless and only thematic. If you want to make more tomb worlds, you could either become a fanatic purifier and use the correct bombardment stance to percussively terraform a planet, or go for something like relentless industrialist so that capitalism can ruin those planets for you. On the Shoulders of Giants is going to spawn a whole host of archaeological dig sites that you can progress through at the start of the game. This should give you a glut of minor artifacts that you can use for additional bonuses. On top of that, you also will not be able to discover any precursor anomalies before you complete the dig sites and your story. Once you've done that, precursors are 3 times more likely to be found. However, by that point, the AI or just other empires in the game may have already got their hands on the precursor home systems first, and thus you're kind of stuck without them. The mid-game event chain will also give you a nice Empire-wide bonus, but it's not an amazing bonus. Shattered Ring allows you to start the game on a ring world. However, this ring world isn't a fully functional ring world. Instead, the planet type is Shattered Ring, which comes with some different districts and a whole host of blockers on the capital. Depending on the number of guaranteed habitable worlds you've chosen at the start of the game, other ring segments may be available for colonization as Shattered Ring worlds. However, these will be covered in blockers that in fact reduce the habitability on those segments down to 0. You'll need some technologies to clear these habitability reducing blockers, and that is very important. Shattered Rings come with trade districts, making them one of the best ways to get high trade value early on in the game. The big downside with this origin is that you start with the ring world preference on your species like the Gaia world. You're not missing out on your guaranteed habitable worlds, so you are getting quite a bit more of a bonus than normal Gaia world start, but being unable to colonize other planet types is very, very annoying. Best to go out and conquer some neighbors or maybe get a migration pact if you're feeling friendly. Here B-Dragon starts you with a protective Sky Dragon Guardian in your capital system, meaning that other empires are going to find it basically impossible to conquer your capital for at least the first 20 or 30 years of the game, if not even longer. Later on, you can kill this dragon or befriend it and turn it over to your side. If you have the right civics or ascension perks, you can resurrect the fallen dragon later on if you have decided to kill it. Ocean Paradise is very similar mechanically to the life-seeded start. You'll start on a size 30 world, but instead of it being a Gaia world, it is an ocean world. However, it does start with the Ocean Paradise homeworld modifier, which makes the planet slightly better than a regular ocean world, but still not quite as good as a full Gaia world. Your species will be forced to take the aquatic or waterproof trait, and your guaranteed habitable worlds will be replaced with frozen worlds. If you don't play with any guaranteed habitable worlds on at all, this is probably a B tier origin, but if you do, losing out on access to those 2 initial colony worlds can be devastating for your early game economic build-up. Slingshot to the Stars basically has no downsides now. You'll get access to a ruined quantum catapult that you can repair without the mega engineering technology, and a dig site in an adjacent system very near to your capital. On top of that, you'll get a bonus to quantum catapult accuracy, and catapulted fleets will get a fire rate bonus of plus 50%, which is higher than the regular Quantic ambush. Not only that, but possibly the best bonus this origin gives you is a reduction in influence distance cost for all of your star bases, allowing you to skip systems and jump ahead at very minimal costs. Overall though, the quantum catapult isn't amazing, it's still one of the less good megastructures. Under One Rule forces you to take the dictatorial authority, and you cannot change your authority. Later on, you will get the option of attempting to change it through some event chains, but that is much later into the game. You'll also get the Perfected Genes trait, which will decrease your leader experience gain, but allow your leaders to live longer. The main benefit of this origin is your ruler. You'll start with a level 4 ruler that has the Luminary trait and gets access to unique ruler traits. Some of these ruler traits can be very good, others are absolute dog poo. You can even make this ruler a higher starting level by taking civics like Distinguished Admiralty or Vaults of Knowledge. However, be careful. If you make your ruler and your other leaders too high a level, the unity upkeep at the start of the game could be crippling. Treasure Hunters gives your ruler access to a unique starting trait, either Buccaneer, Treasure Hoarder, or honestly the best of the 3, Trailblazer. Trailblazer is pretty good because it's going to grant you additional sensor range alongside sublight speed. As the game progresses, you'll have an event chain that will require you to defeat some pirate fleets, and if you're not ready for those pirate fleets, it can be rather devastating to your entire empire. And at the end of all of that, you will get some pretty nice bonuses when you finally find Treasure Planet. This is definitely a fun origin, but the power level requirements to progress the story chain in terms of the fleet power requirements will slow you down, and it will mean you don't get access to those great bonuses like some pretty big increases to Empire opinion for the entire galaxy until it's almost too late for them to be useful. And by useful, I of course mean in obtaining vassals through diplomacy. We're now up to the B tier, which is basically the middle of the pack as far as origins are concerned. Galactic Doorstop is a lot better than it used to be when I last did this tier list, but it's not as good as it once was when it gave a 90% chance of getting Scrand Sharpbeak. Basically with this origin, you'll get a dormant gateway in your capital system, which you can then upgrade. When you do, you'll have a 33% chance of getting Scrand Sharpbeak, the Paragon, and when you reactivate a second gateway, that chance will then be 67%, which is actually a pretty good chance overall. If you can get Scrand Sharpbeak quite early, that's a very powerful 20 to 30k fleet with a jump drive that you can use to vassalize pretty much any empire in the galaxy. However, it is now quite a bit more RNG dependent than it used to be, and that's why we're here in the B tier rather than the A or S tiers. Remnants lets you start the game on a relic world, which unfortunately doesn't come with all of the special bonuses most normal relic worlds do. You can still, once you've removed all of the tile blockers, upgrade it into an Ecumenopolis, assuming you've got the correct technologies, and it also does start with 6 ruined arcology blockers that can be removed, and when you do remove those ruined arcology blockers, you'll get some random techs unlocked. Your first 2 initial colonies also get some bonuses in terms of reduction to district and building cost and planetary build speed. That isn't all though, because your starting lab will be replaced with a faculty of Archaeo Studies. This is going to grant you a small passive income of minor artifacts, but it does come at quite a high energy upkeep cost, so overall I'm not entirely sure if that's worth it. You might be a little bit confused to see life seeded again. We've already covered it down in the F tier. Well, I'd like to draw your attention to the little icon to the right hand side of life seeded on your screen. That icon is the mechanical species trait icon, which signifies that this is the position of this origin if you're playing as a machine empire. If you're a machine empire, life seeded does not have as many negatives. Yes, you will get the Gaia world preference, however, as a machine, your minimum habitability is set to 50%, so you can still colonize every single planet you find without that much of a negative. And as soon as you research the machine template system technology, you can modify your robot's planet habitability preference to allow them to get even higher habitability on other worlds. In general, you might notice a theme as we continue through this tier list. Some origins suck, but if you're a machine, you can basically bypass the negatives, and that makes them much, much better. Common Ground allows you to start with the Diplomacy Tradition tree adopted and the Federation Tradition unlocked. You'll also start in a Federation as the President with 2 other members. Your other members are going to be taking your guaranteed habitable worlds, however, you can get some pretty good bonuses from these federations right at the start of the game that should allow you to ignore the loss of those 2 guaranteed habitable planets. And if you're playing without guaranteed habitable planets on, this has basically no downside. You can also choose your federation type at the start of the game, so you could choose to have a trade federation and get access to that very powerful trade policy right at the start of the game, or go for a military federation and get access to a federation fleet, enabling you to get the AI empires to build up your federation fleet, which for you would be entirely free, and then utilize that federation fleet to conquer other empires very early. Hegemony is basically the Common Ground origin, however, it is locked to the Hegemony Federation type. If you take Common Ground, you cannot pick to become a Hegemony, and if you take Hegemon origin, you'll only be a Hegemony Federation. This one, like the Military Federation, will start you off with the ability to field a Federation fleet that you can use to run around and bully other empires and conquer their planets and take their stuff, without actually needing to spend any alloys on ships, because the other AI empires in the Federation will do so as long as you set your Federation laws correctly. And if you're enjoying this video, please Hegemonize that like button. The Necrophage origin hasn't changed in a very long time. This will grant you the Necrophage species trait on your primary species, which increases their ruler and specialist resource output alongside giving them some negatives like reductions to pop growth speed. That reduction is completely ignorable though, as you start with a second pre-patent species, 12 pops of them, that will be your regular pop growth. You'll need centers of elevation, chambers of elevation, that sort of thing, to upgrade your pre-patent species into your regular Necrophage species. On top of that, if you pick the right ethics like Xenophobe, you can use the Necrophage Purge type to purge other species into your own primary species. You also start with guaranteed habitat worlds that have pre-FTL species on rather than being empty, which is a nice little power boost right at the start of the game, so you should have additional population. The reason this is down here in the B tier rather than being a little bit higher in the A tier like in previous lists is that honestly we've just had some power creep from the other origins now in the game. I almost can't believe I've decided to put Knights all the way up here in the B tier, but after seeing Octaverai's fantastic performance with this origin in a recent Montu's Multiplayer Madness, I had to concede that yes, there are some economic shortfalls at the beginning, but you do get quite a few benefits from this origin. You'll start with many defensive armies, meaning that if you take Unyielding and the first tradition on the left, you can get some very nice additional unity output absolutely free right from the start of the game. On top of that, as you progress through the nightly quest chain, you'll actually end up getting lots of additional research, or unity if you really want it, from your knights on that habitat, which is not something we should sniff at. There are additional bonuses and specimens and good things we can also get as we go through the quest chain, and they are also pretty good too. Not only that, but we start with 2 colonies, so that's additional pop growth speed, and we have the orbital habitat technology unlocked, so if we want to build additional orbitals in the mid-game, we won't need to research anything to do so. Overtuned allows you to select overtuned traits. This is actually particularly good if you pair it with a cybernetic ascension, because you can use the cybernetic trait, which grants you additional leader lifespan, to offset the negative leader lifespan you'll get from overtuned. Once we've had a rework to genetic ascension, which the developers tell us is probably coming sometime next year, it's probably going to be better paired with that, but for now, I definitely recommend you keep it with the cybernetic ascension. Those overtuned traits can be very, very good. They don't cost many points, allowing you to stack quite a few bonuses that wouldn't normally be available until someone had done a biological ascension. Of course, this does come at the cost of reduced leader lifespan. Calamitous Birth is basically the best origin for lithoid empires. You can build the meteorite colony ships, which are pretty cheap and pretty fast. They slam into planets and let you live on them. These also create the buried lithoids tile blocker, which when cleared grants you additional lithoid pops. And they also cause the lithoid crater modifier to have an impact, if you'll pardon the pun, which reduces the habitability of all non-lithoid species on that planet forever by 50%. Calamitous Birth lets you colonize the galaxy cheaply and quickly, and makes it so that non-lithoids cannot live on your worlds. Tree of Life is only available to Gestalt Consciousness empires. You'll start with a Tree of Life on your homeworld, and any other colony gets a sapling. This Tree of Life gives you some nice bonuses, but if your planetary devastation reaches 50 or more, it will be destroyed, and you will need to take a decision to replant it. Whilst destroyed, you do get some crippling negative modifiers. On top of that, your colony ships will cost you fewer alloys, but more food. This is a strong origin for Hivemind empires, but honestly, there are better Hivemind origins available, as we're going to see very, very soon. Welcome to the A tier. We're now starting to look at some pretty powerful origins that will have some big impacts on your gameplay. Prosperous Unification is the standard origin, but honestly, it's a very, very good one. You'll start the game with 4 additional pops and 2 extra starting districts, which is basically like jumping ahead around 10 to 15 years in terms of pop growth time in the game. On top of that, you'll get a bonus for 20 years on your capital of 15% more happiness, 25% more amenities, and 10% additional resources from jobs. This all culminates to give you basically an economic leg up right at the start of the game. Mechanist is a pretty good origin if you want to go down the synthetic ascension path. You'll start the game with 2 free technologies, which give you the ability to build robots. You'll also start with a robot assembly plant and 8 robots with the adaptive frames trait. On top of that, you will get a permanent 15% additional mechanical pop assembly speed, plus 2 mechanical modification points, and plus 1 mechanical species trait picks. And adaptive frames will cost you 1 fewer trait points, which is very, very good. This isn't the fastest or most optimal way to get to synthetic ascension, but once you have synthetically ascended, you will have the best robot pops in the game that are produced the quickest. I imagine once the ascension paths get a bit of a rebalance, once we get new psionic and biological ascensions, as the developers have alluded is coming next year, I suspect this is probably going to pop down to the B tier. But at the moment, I definitely have a soft spot for Mechanist, and synthetic ascension is the most powerful biological ascension type. So anything that's going to give you a big bonus to that ascension type is very good in my book. Syncretic evolution can be taken by individualistic machines, and if you do that, I'd rank it all the way up here in the A tier. Why is that? Well, you're going to get access to not only your regular machine assembly, but also this secondary species will be using the biological pop growth mechanic at the same time. There is no negative impacts from either of these, so basically you're going to be getting free additional pops that you can use to work worker jobs. I would suspect it's probably optimal to get them working clerk jobs and go down the mercantile tradition alongside rushing some Unity to go for either virtual or modular ascension through trade, and this then makes Syncretic Evolution a great pick for that. If you are a machine empire, you have a minimum habitability of 50%. That basically means you can ignore most of the negatives from Doomsday and just focus on the positives, like making plus 120% alloys in the first 30 years, which is a crazy bonus to get. Machines can utilize Doomsday to go out and build a big fleet and then conquer a couple of neighbors, thus giving them some space to move, some living room that they can then push their population into. Void Dweller will start your species on a habitat. Habitats have been improved quite a bit now, and they are very, very good. You'll also get the bonuses of the Voidborn Ascension perk absolutely free, which is a reduction to habitat build cost, an increase to the building slots from non-urban habitat districts, plus 2 habitat maximum districts, and plus 1 jobs from all your habitat districts, alongside the ability to upgrade housing buildings on your habitats. That isn't all though. You'll also get the Void Dweller trait on your species, which will make them much better on habitats, but a bit worse, and actually quite a lot worse, on planets. Habitats are going to allow you to increase your early game science very rapidly. They have access to the Research District, which provides you researcher jobs alongside housing. This means you won't have to increase your number of building slots in order to get access to additional researcher jobs, which does come at a higher cost in terms of resources and time. So you can get higher research numbers earlier than other empires, and as Stellaris is a game where a small advantage early will cascade into a bigger advantage later, you can understand how good this is. Cybernetic Creed locks you into the Cybernetic Ascension path, but you will be able to complete that Cybernetic Ascension path very, very quickly. On top of that, depending on the option you choose, you'll get some very powerful bonuses added to your empire. Cybernetic Ascension is very good, and those bonuses are also very good. That isn't all though. When you fully cybernetically ascend, you will get some very specialized pops that are very, very strong. And they'll also have quite a nice unique trait. The reason this origin is here down in the A tier and not in the S tier is that Cybernetic is not the most powerful ascension path at the moment for biological empires. Resource consolidation allows you to start as a machine empire on a machine world. You can only do this as a machine intelligence authority type empire, so individualistic machines cannot choose this as a start. The main strength here is that your starting world has all of its building slots available, alongside the fact that your generator and mining districts are only capped by the planet size of this planet. Outside of this great strong start at the beginning, you're not really getting any other bonuses though. I would also like to mention it's very important to repair that malfunctioning replicator bay on the capital by removing the blocker, as that will grant you additional pop assembly speed. The S tier is the best tier. The Origins here are the best you're going to find in the game. Clone Army gives you specialized pops that are unable to grow naturally. Instead, they can only be assembled using the ancient clone vat buildings. These buildings will grant you variable pop assembly speed based on the number of pops already on the planet. You can get some phenomenally fast pop assembly though with this Origin, allowing you to quickly scale up to the maximum of 100 clones within at least the first 30 years. The big strength of this Origin is the fact that you're going to get a very large number of pops very, very quickly. You can then either choose to ascend, making these 100 clones fantastically strong, getting big bonuses to resource output, or descend, allowing your clones to start producing naturally. That isn't all though. Your clones will also get access to some very, very good traits if they are admirals. Clone Army is possibly the most powerful Origin for regular biological empires if you're not planning on synthetically ascending. Scion starts you as a vassal of a holy guardian or keeper of knowledge fallen empire. This is basically like playing the game on tutorial mode. You'll have a big brother that will step in before anything too bad happens to you. If a very large nasty empire which has bigger fleets than you declares war, the Fallen Empire are going to step in and stop them. They're also going to grant you some quite strong bonuses, giving you free fleets, free technologies, free stuff every few years. Yes, you're not getting any direct bonuses other than the RNG gifts from the Overlord, but you basically cannot be destroyed by anything other than an equivalent empire. If you have the chance of winning, you will be allowed to fight. They're not going to fight all of your battles for you, but if you would otherwise be wiped out because the empire is so much stronger than you, the Fallen Empire will just step in and stop it. This, I believe, makes Scion the most powerful Origin if you're just starting out and trying to learn the game. If you're a machine empire, Shattered Ring, just like the Gaia World Origin, comes with all of the benefits and basically none of the negatives. You can still colonize planets because you have a 50% minimum habitability, and you will still be getting your guaranteed habitable world because they spawn as Shattered Ring segments in your starting system. If you want to reach your synthetic ascension as fast as possible as a machine empire, you should either take Shattered Ring or possibly Void Dweller, which we'll be looking at in a minute. This will allow you to maximize your trade value output and produce as much unity as possible as quickly as possible. Imperial Fiefdom starts you off as a specialized subject of an advanced empire. Around 40 to 65 years into the game, that advanced empire will collapse and thus allow you to be free. You can really manipulate this AI empire and get some crazy bonuses by playing this Origin correctly, and then when your Overlord collapses, you can gobble up some of those juicy large Gaia worlds that are filled with pops that the now kind of defunct Overlord will not be able to defend. Teachers of the Shroud locks you into the Psionic Ascension path. You'll be able to psionically ascend within the first 10 to 15 years with this Origin if you really want to. That can give you some very, very strong bonuses. To maximize the potential of Teachers of the Shroud, I'd probably recommend you take the Angler's Civic alongside Parliamentary System to maximize your unity, and then around 10 to 15 years into the game, swap out Parliamentary System and replace it with Catalytic Processing. This is probably the strongest biological non-hive build that won't be looking at synthetically or cybernetically ascending. Synthetic Fertility is the fast track to the Synthetic Ascension path. This will allow you to synthetically ascend your main species in the first 15 to 20 years of the game if you play it correctly. You'll then be playing with the strongest biological ascension path, which is ironically the path to stop being biological anymore. Yes, the game is currently dominated by machines, ladies and gentlemen, you just have to live with that fact at the moment. And on top of that, you'll also get some additional bonuses. If you really want to go crazy, you'll want to make sure your species then becomes slightly virtual. Yes, you won't get access to the full virtual tradition like normal machine empires, but you still get access to the virtual policy, allowing you to increase, for example, your research output by plus 80%. Plus 80% at year 15 to 20 is absolutely bananas when it comes to research output. I have done a longer video fully covering synthetic fertility, so if you're interested in that, I will put a link to it down in the description below, and you can check out all of the benefits and bonuses this crazy origin gives you. The Arc Welder's origin lets you start the game with an arc furnace already partially underway. Arc furnaces are the best way of getting alloys and minerals in the very early game. They do come with quite a high energy upkeep cost, but if you pair arc welders with, for example, astro mining drones, the Civic, you will have a very strong empire economically by the time you're getting to year 20 or 30. You'll also get +1 megastructure build capacity, and once you've constructed your second arc furnace, and talking about that second furnace, you'll also get a guaranteed system to spawn in, which is a fantastic system for that second arc furnace site. But once you complete it, you'll get the mega engineering technology unlocked as a permanent research option. That is very strong as well. Honestly, in terms of economic output, this is probably the strongest machine origin, though you can't really rush the synthetic ascension paths with this origin as opposed to the Shattered Ring or the Void Dweller that we'll look at in a minute. Progenitor Hive is hands down still the absolute strongest hive mind origin. You will get a progenitor on your homeworld, which gives you some great bonuses. You'll also get access to a whole host of other little tiny bonuses. Your leaders will gain experience every month, which includes your council, or in this case your nodes because you're a Gestalt empire, and you'll also get access to the offspring nest building, which increases your menial drone output, and you'll be able to release subjects as vassals, which normally hive minds cannot do, and you also get access to special ship types. Yes, you do get reductions to evasion, sublight speed, fire rate, and accuracy if you don't have an offspring ship in the same system, but those minor penalties are not outweighed by the overwhelming bonuses. Progenitor Hive allows you to build the fastest and the strongest hive minds in the game. Last but by no means least, we have Void Dweller for machines. Like Shattered Ring, your machine pops will have a minimum habitability of 50% on every single planet, which means that you can basically ignore the fact you have habitat preference on your primary robotic species. In fact, as a Void Dweller, I wouldn't actually recommend you go out and build additional habitats at the start of the game. Instead, you should go out and colonize other worlds that you find. Yes, you don't have guaranteed habitable worlds, but there's still a good chance that you'll find 2 or even 3 or even 4 other worlds out there around your starting systems. Combining this origin with the ability to colonize regular planets and not get a happiness debuff if you're not a Gestalt empire, because the Void Dweller trait for robots doesn't give you a happiness debuff, it's kind of crazy actually. And then throwing in something like an arc furnace in the first 15, 20, 25 years of the game if you focus on getting more research alternatives and then unlocking that technology, can basically give you a very strong build that will get high research income. You will be able to synthetically ascend and go for modularity or virtualarity relatively fast, and then you will have basically won Stellaris. Thanks again to Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus for sponsoring this video. You can enter the grim darkness of the far future by using the link down in the description below. Origins tell us a little bit more about where our empire has come from. But ladies and gentlemen, where is your empire going next? The answer, I believe, is megastructures. If you'd like to find out what each of the megastructures in Stellaris do and see them ranked in a tier list, you'll probably want to click the video on screen now.